Salutations. This is another installment of Poetry and Prayer. Poetry and Prayers. Um, Today I am looking. Well, on this particular segment, we are looking at um, "When I Think of You," and it's more of expository or narrative, more narrative, because it's a discussion. It's more of a letter to her son. It's prose, but it does put me in the mind of "Mother to Son" by Langston Hughes. But rather than talking about this more symbolic relationship, it's grounded in day to day. This is what it is, because I feel like mother to son can be any woman's struggle, like any woman's struggle to be a mother to a son, particularly to a black man, and what that means raising him by herself. And this doesn't necessarily, I didn't hear that she's necessarily a single parent, but it does seem like it's a particular petition to her son specifically, where it talks about his specific interest and the things that he's doing, and it's very personalized and customized in that sense. So again, the piece is called "When I Think of You," and it's by Sharon G. Flake, and the photograph that's featured is by Zamani Feelings. Now, again, I have been reading from "We Rise, We Resist, We Raise Our Voices," forward by Ashley Bryan, edited by Wade Hudson and Cheryl Willis Hudson. It is a book that I is at my local library, and I'm certain it's at your library as well. So take a moment to check it out. It features a number of contemporary writers, and I think that it's just beautiful in terms of hearing how those themes and how the voice of struggle and the voice of liberation can be translated and modified across decades and generations. The unfortunate thing is that we're still fighting for some of the same issues, but the idea is the struggle becomes enhanced and refined. Before, when we were dealing with and the pieces, actually, let me just read it, and then I'll give my 2 cents after. Okay. How are you, my love? Well, I hope. I've been thinking about you lately, so I wanted to check in to make sure you're okay. I see you draped in confidence, walking like you own the world, looking fine, skateboarding, protesting injustice, helping out friends. My heart sings at the thought of what is possible for us here on earth because you exist. What I admire about you most is your smile, your ability to make jokes in nearly any situation, and just how creative and entrepreneurial you are. I didn't have your courage and tenacity when I was young. Everything scared me: boys, taking risks, being judged, yet here I am. I made it through all my personal trials and tribulations. The world's too. You will also. Count on it. But now this: the world is larger than your school and neighborhood, crazier than ever it seems. Has it gotten you down? Made you feel as if you aren't brave or in control as you once thought you were? If so, I understand. We had the Vietnam War and discrimination. My dad had Jim Crow, the Depression, and World War II. Every generation faces a series of storms that seem insurmountable. Your generation is no different. The internet and cable news streams report to us nightly: another black boy shot and killed by the police, families torn apart as parents get deported, swastikas and nooses peppering our landscape like weeds, adults berating and brawling with their neighbors and constituents. Even the climate seems discontent, determined to bring out the worst in us all. Thankfully, it is in the nature of youth to look at the landscape, no matter how charred and forlorn, and see new growth, new opportunity, and visions of possibilities. Do you still see what is possible? What's good and everlasting despite the times and conditions we live in? Do you understand how important you and other youth are to us? When I think of you, I think of those who have come before you, young and resilient. They lived during history's most tumultuous times and left their mark. Muhammad Ali, formerly Cassius Clay, was one of them. At 12, he was an amateur boxer. By 18, he was an Olympic gold medalist who later raised his fist against injustice. Malala Yousafzai from Pakistan was shot by terrorists who didn't think girls should attend school. At 17, Malala won a Nobel Peace Prize for her bravery and efforts to educate girls. There are others like you three, Ordinary citizens like these, Alicia Garza, co-founder of Black Lives Matters, Emmett Till, brutally murdered for allegedly whistling at a white woman. His death launched the civil rights era. Anne Frank, whose diary of her Holocaust experiences and continued faith in mankind impacted millions. Claudette Colvin, who refused to give a white person her seat on the bus. And William Kamkwamba, who at the age of 14 built a windmill to power his parents' home in Malawi, Africa. Because of William, his family and village had running water and electricity for the first time. Hard times do not always harden people. Often they reveal what we're made of, who we are inside. I believe you are amazing, and if you could take care of yourself and your heart, you will add much value to the planet in your own special way. So again, I ask, how are you? Are you having fun during these tough times? Are you serving others while being kind and concerned about yourself? Good, because I need you to know you are loved, you are needed, and you were born for such a time as this. Blessings on your journey. Your fan and cheerleader, Sharon G. Flake. And so you see the picture here. And so, yeah, again, the pictures were taken by Zamani Feelings. And I think, you know, again, this idea of struggle certainly transcends time, certainly transcends any measure of ageism. Because to even try to minimize or say that the problems were more difficult, and I'm certain more prevalent, but we have seen, but the idea is, even in those times, there was so much more family and a need for community because it was protection and it was security. You know, as integration moved forward and the civil rights movement, began to yield some of the outcomes we hoped for, what we saw is a breakdown or an increase in dysfunction within those um, extended family networks. And as a result of that dissension, there wasn't the adequate support and love to continue to press forward. And not to say that we are pressing forward. What I mean is that as the basic family structure, as we knew it, began to disintegrate with integration, what also happened was a rise in reported cases of depression, reported cases of suicide among Black people, reported cases of, Black on Black violence, all things that were a no-no in a time when everybody knew everybody was dependent on everyone. And even though you feel like, well, everybody's in my business, the fact that everybody's in your business makes it harder for you to have to shoulder all the struggles and the challenges of your business on your own. And I think that's that. I was just reading, I just only read the headline, and it was saying today, it was saying like, if you want your daughter to, you know, if we want to raise healthier daughters and, have them have healthier relationship experiences, we need to, really start raising our sons to be different as well. And I think that, that double standard between men and women has been ongoing, and I think that really transcends race. And I think that you can have a discussion about gender roles, and even with the idea of traditional gender roles being archaic, I think we can challenge those and still have a structure that works. I think that there's still opportunity to be dynamic in who manages what in each household. But I think it then also becomes important that in all of the newness, we find those girding best practices that helped us to thrive and help us to not only thrive, but to operate with vitality in times when we had far less. And I think that's so much, I think it's incredibly critical to who we are as a people. I think it's incredibly critical to, you know, what we should expect and what we should tell our children that they should expect and cultivate in the families that they would develop. So I think it's important. And so, like I said, I feel like this is a modified mother to son. Um, and it's beautiful, beautifully written. The big ideas in terms of loving one another, loving our children, understanding our role as adults and as parents, understanding the pressure. I think so often we will kind of tell kids like, "Oh, you ain't been through nothing. You ain't going through nothing. Like, you too young to know anything." And the child is like, "Well, how you know I'm not stressed?" And I think Taraji Henson has really began to take up the banner for supporting mental health, offering uh, more supportive mental health services in schools, particularly early childhood. So I think it's relevant, and I think it's important because they're dealing with a lot. We have been dealing with a lot, and the idea is to heal the brokenness before it sets in and becomes damaged. You know, because something can be broken, but you can fix it before it's permanently damaged. And so I think that's needed, and I think it's needed at an early age. And so I think that this speaks to that, and I think it definitely um, echoes the more common sentiment for us to be culturally competent and emotionally literate and responsible and accountable for the ways in which our actions impact others in this interdependent society, particularly those of us as adults and have taking on the helm of fostering little people and literally cultivating the personalities, worldview, and ideas of our children and their peers. So so either way, I think that those things are important. So again, that's this particular piece for today. And what I'm going to do now is go ahead and do the prayers, and that'll wrap up this video. Okay. Let's see. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. So I give thanks for you. I give thanks for you listening. I pray that something in this video blesses you. I pray that you are encouraged, and know that I love you. Be at peace. Love and appreciate you.